Welcome, and it's another Down and Dirty with Kim and Scott today. Woohoo! Welcome back. Oh, Scott, are you there?
I am.
Scott, at the very last minute before we went live, we went to go grab a ice cold beer because we have a producer that comes to our show and just says it's really hot. It's really hot in Serbia. I got to have a beer. So we start talking about beer, and then Scott and I are like, okay, it's 1 o'clock here in Michigan, 2 o'clock Scott's at. You know, it's in the evening where Nesha's at. And we're like, damn, we're salivating.
I poured myself a tea, but...
Oh, you didn't get a beer.
Oh, wait.
Oh, and there
there it is.
Welcome back to another Bold Radio Station live show, Down and Dirty with Kim and Scott, and the man who all keeps it together for us, Nesha, our producer, is sitting on back. I can see it now. He's sitting on back, watching the sound quality, babysitting the show behind the scenes. He's got a cigarette in one hand and a beer in another. That's our Nesha.
You know, I love Nesha because it feels like you and I are two flimsy, flighty pieces of paper, and he's the one that glues us together and keeps us strong.
I know he does, and he does. He does a damn good job of that. And I like to play around with him a little bit. He's like, Kim, and I'm like, oh, come on, I'm just teasing you. And I'm like, geez, oh, Pete. He's so funny. He gets a little too serious sometimes, but boy, he can crack it up with the rest of us.
Yeah. I was going to say, are you ever afraid to offend him? Because I'm not. I say anything I want to that guy, but I'm never rude to him. But I can honestly hear him, like, he's just sitting there. I can already tell he's smiling because I'm saying this, and I can already hear him laughing when I say dumb shit. Like, that's just Nesha. I love the guy, though. He's great.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I mean, he does. I think it's very difficult to offend him because he's so, he's pretty easygoing. And let's really toot his horn here for a second before we jump on to the show.
Beep.
We are on. Wait a minute. We are on a fucking roll.
Yes.
I said it.
Yes, you dropped the F-bomb. You sent me a message an hour ago, Kim, saying you weren't going to swear today.
So I'm teasing you, Scott. But anyways, Nesha is an awesome family man, and so so he's a good guy. But anyways, last night Scott and I were doing an evening pre-record with one of our guests coming up here on the show, and she's in Australia. So when you've got 12, 24-hour, all these time different changes, we have to pre-record the shows. They can't step on live because then it's in the middle of the night for them. And it wasn't until near the end I said the word fuck, and Scott goes, yeah, I was waiting for you to do it first. And I'm like, you brat. Oh my God.
Yeah, I actually held I held my tongue the whole show, and I was so fucking impressed with myself. And I was like, I'm going to make it. And then you dropped it, and I was like, fuck yeah, you went first. I'm great. I'm clear.
It's so not funny. So, hey, guess what? Today we have 0 guests. Scott and I are flying solo, and when Scott and I do this periodically, we get some great feedback, from people saying, oh my God, you guys are awesome together. You should do this more often. So we're going to start doing this a little bit more often, but we also like to have our guests on here as well. But Scott and I are going to, we're going to start doing this a little bit more often. But, what's really cool is, and of course we'll have topics that we'll bring to the table. One of my favorite right now, of course, is politics. But we're not going there today. Scott wanted to talk about fear, F-E-A-R. Fuck fear in the face, and what are all the
I've never heard that.
Oh yeah, fuck fear and just fuck fear in the face and just get on out of here. It's so it's false evidence appearing real. I can't
face
talk
everything and rise.
Face everything and rise. There's a lot around that word, fear. So I'm going to just say this, and I'm going to turn it all over to Scott, is we can never get rid of, I'm really having a hard time talking. Wait a minute, hold on. Let's do this real quick. Okay. We can never get rid of fear. Fear is part of our emotional baseball team. And she has fear, she or he, whatever gender you want to put to it. Fear has a place within baseball team. So, we can never get rid of fear. Fear's there for a reason. Fear's there for a multitude of reasons. But I am dying to hear what you want to talk about fear today.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Fear has a place. Like, I don't think anyone is quote unquote fearless. There's a lot of people who are reckless and stupid, but no one is fearless. And I feel like I fit the reckless and stupid point a lot. However, a lot of people think that, they look at me and they think that I'm extroverted. They think that I'm really social and out there. But what a lot of people don't realize is that social situations terrify me. People frighten me because people are unpredictable. And so, like, a lot of people don't realize that, like, when you and I are on this show, Kim, when we're rocking the interview side of it, I am down like a clown. I am okay. I'm laughing, joking, being my smart assy self. But when I get on someone else's show, my God, do I ever get nervous? It like my nerves, they kick up to the highest degree. And I'm so scared that I'm not going to be able to provide, what the host is looking for, what the audience expect. Showing me like a podcast flow or a previous guest list, you're going to paralyze me. Because I try to go in as unprepared as possible just because then I'm not scared.
Yes.
But the second I see that, like, big names have been on the show before me, nope, not happening. And so I've had a couple of instances in the last couple of weeks that, triggered my fear response. And so I really wanted to bring that up, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, go for it, man. I'm dying to hear this because I had no idea about. Well, I know that you and I we have that a lot in common where we stay extremely present, going, I'm telling you, what is wrong with me today? I see, this is what I love about live radio. Life is not perfect. Live radio is not perfect. We don't go into depth where we tear apart our guests' website, search them out, literally criminally investigate them, so to speak. I will glance at some things. I will glance at, the form that they provide for us here. I want to stay so present, and that's how I learn a lot about my guests.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you and I are very much on the same wavelength with that one.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things where, yes, I can go look up all of your info, but that's mechanical. It was engineered it was written and glanced over and revised and re-revised and written and published. It's not you. It's a representation you want people to see of you. Much like our shows, our representations, like you and I have this show, and it's very raw and it's very down and dirty and it's to the point. It's us. However, there are other shows that I've done, such as the Education Podcast, that was engineered, and it was the cleanest version of myself. And at one point, it felt very inauthentic of me, but at another point, it actually started to cause me anxiety because I had to censor myself so much. And so, like, whenever I look at websites and stuff, all I'm seeing is the version they want me to see. So when we get them on this show, it's way more fun just to pick their brain.
Yes.
Ask them questions like, how many partners have they been with? Or like, do they have a dungeon in their basement? That stuff is way more fun for me.
Oh my God. I think you need to explain that. Oh my God. We had a dominatrix. Tune in. We had a dominatrix in here. And then the first comment, tune in. That's an upcoming show on unconventional.
Yeah. Tune into the future episodes, tune into the past episodes, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to give the goat away. Start listening to the show, guys.
That's it. Just, if you guys want to know what shit's going on around here, listen, tune in, damn it. Tune in.
Yeah. So on the fear front, Kim, one of the ones I want to bring up to you, because it's probably the most recent situations where I felt inadequate, and that scared me. And I know you run a fitness company, so I know you can relate. But my old man, he's 52 years old. He's military. He's like balls to the wall. Like, he's 5'4", and he scares the shit out of me. Okay. And this guy decided, he knew I wanted to start going to the gym again. So he decided to bring me to the military gym instead of going to like Good Life or one of those other companies. He brought me to the military gym, and I have never been so scared walking into a gym before.
Yeah, intimidating. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
I've never had my physical performance come under question at all, ever. And then you see these hard conditioned soldiers
Yes.
like cranking off pull-ups just endlessly and tirelessly. And like they're not even sweating yet, and they've already like slammed back 20, 30 pull-ups, and you're like, oh my God, I can do like 7. and and so like that frightened the shit out of me. And to the point where I almost like froze. I forgot that I was there to compete with only myself. And I froze up. And I jumped up on the pull-up bar and I cranked off as many as I could do. And when I dropped down, I felt good. But getting up on that bar and, lifting those weights and getting in front of all these dudes was frightening, like genuinely frightening for no reason at all. No reason at all.
You know what I call a lot of that, that fear is that's that bitch, that hag in the attic. I call it a hag in the attic. She's,
Yeah.
she or he is going off inside that head. Preferably she is going off inside that head. And, that's the logic. That's the ego, that hag. And she's like, chomp, 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 chomp at your brain. And, because you're stepping out of a comfort zone. And
Yes.
she's the one that's scared, so she starts playing, are you kidding me? You're nothing but a little skinny little wimpy sucker. You're not going to keep up with all these people. Oh, look around and go back home, because that's where we're comfortable, on the couch. And, and it's amazing I love watching people, including myself, work through them, bust through them, whatever you want to call, go through something specific where that fear is, got you shaking in your boots, or sweating like crazy, or actually literally holding you back. When you do go through it, it's so empowering. I mean, you want to talk about a couple more notches in your belt of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen it before, like, being contracted into gyms and things like that, where you're handling like workout programs and stuff, and you're noticing that like you see someone who's been there a while and is comfortable, and you see that first dayer. And the look on that first dayer's face is, one, the funniest thing, but two, the most like you want to go over there and give them a hug, because you're like, don't worry, you got this. Like, but that look of genuine fear for no reason at all, because they're safe. They're not there to compete, but they're so scared of everything they think might happen, what someone might say. They might get hurt. They might screw something up. They might look dumb. The fear of looking dumb is probably the biggest fear with everything we do. But like, there's all these fears circulating through their head, and you can see it painted on their pale, pallid face. And I must have been the funniest thing in front of all these guys walking in, and they're all like, they're beasts. I've never seen so many intimidating motherfuckers in one place in my life.
I know.
Scared the shit out of me.
Well, and they have to be, because, they're in the service, army, whatever, protecting, our country, and, it's their due diligence. Quite frankly, I think our police force and our fire departments should also be in tip-top shape like that. I know like the Michigan State Police, they're in really good shape. But like
Staties have to be.
Yeah, but like the local police and firefighters, first of all, I don't know, firefighters, get on up there, carry that heavy freaking hose. They're overweight. They're going to go fight a fire. It's hot inside there, and manage it all. It's like, dang, how do you do that?
How do they not sweat the weight off? Like,
I know. How do they even manage doing that, being overweight like that? But yeah, I mean, walking into something like that, those guys and women are in tip-top shape.
It was something. Like, I'm sure they face even bigger fears than just walking into the gym on the first day, but like, they don't, and you can tell like they've all been there. They all looked at me and like cracked a grin, shook my hand, gave me a nod or whatever. Nice to see you. Little tips and pointers and things like that, because they've been there and they know it. And like, no one's going to give you flack or give you a hard time for wanting to improve yourself physically. No one should. I mean, if someone's going to give you a hard time for jumping on a treadmill when you're obviously doing what you went there to do, improve yourself, like, that person's just a douche, like an absolute douche. But for the most part, in these situations, people are really supportive, and you are your own worst enemy in this kind of situation. And I grit my teeth through it, but my initial reaction walking in there was like, get the fuck out, go home.
Run with the wind, faster than the wind. Yeah, that's that fear there, like I said, that's the hag in the attic. That goes into the comparison mode,
Hmm.
the lack mode, I'm uncomfortable, get your ass back home mode, all that, all those things that equal, the equation that equals fear, big fat fear. Like for an example, I I do a group reformer class, which is Pilates on Wednesday right before our show, and I go again on Friday. And I had to beef it up because my hips and my back were really bothering me. And I've been in the fitness business for almost 30 years. I'm late today. It was only two of us. It's summertime here in Michigan. A lot of people are gone. I'm watching this woman who is not in the fitness business, who is maneuvering on that reformer, which is the equipment, one of the equipment on the for Pilates, and just mastering it. And oh my God, Kathy, you are so strong. And it's like, I could go, oh, holy shit, Kim, come on, you own a fitness business. But that's ridiculous. Just because I own a fitness business doesn't mean I can do all this stuff where I can do it, but I have to maybe, instead of straight legs, have to do it with my legs bent to protect my low back.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't do leg circles as large as everyone else because of my psoas and my hips right now. I do them smaller. You're still working out. You're still benefiting. But I think that's what gets us in trouble is when we start doing the comparison act going on.
Yep. That's when people lift too heavy or like they hurt themselves because they think they should be up to par. And keep in mind, you've got to are you injured? Are you feeling muscle or joint strain? Have you worked yourself up to that level yet? Like you can't just go in and be a beast. You've got to build up, right?
Yeah.
And so like a lot of people, you're right. When they start comparing themselves, they open the door for injury, for and if you injure yourself, well, then that's going to completely throw everything that you were working on out the window, but it's also going to elevate your fear, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Then everything comes screeching to the forefront. I knew I was supposed to be scared of this. Look what I up and did. I hurt myself. When that's not the case at all. If you just take your time and be real with yourself.
Well, that's your hag talking. That's your ego talking. See, I told you were supposed to be afraid of this because now you've hurt yourself and now you are bedridden for a couple of days and it hurts like a bitch to get up and move around, or like going into a gym for the first time and going all full-fledged because everybody else is going all full-fledged and you can't walk for a week. Oh boy, how much fun is that? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
We all enter at different levels. We're all
exactly
different levels. It's our own independent, individualized, different levels.
Exactly. And one thing that my stepdad told me, like he kept reminding me, like you're in competition with yourself, not me, because this guy, like I said, he's 5'4" or 5'5". He's small, but he's built, like he's crazy built. And so he would lift certain like plate levels, and I'm like, man, I should be able to lift that too. But he had to keep reminding me, like, you're here for you. You're not here to compete with me. You're not here to compete with that guy. You're not here to compete with anyone else. Compete with yourself. Next week, do better. The week after that, do better. He's like, eventually you'll catch up to me. And so, like, I had to remind myself that over and over again. And I had to change the program of my self-talk from you should be here to you should do what you need to do to get there.
Something, it's like golf. When you play golf, you play, in groups of, twos, fours. The group is the largest group is, of course, is four. But you're not. And I'm not a big golf player. I've played a couple of times, and I'm married to a golf freak. So when you're driving the ball from hole to hole to hole to hole, you're not trying to beat out the other guy. You're trying to beat yourself out from the last hole or from the last game.
Swimmers, you're trying to beat your personal best time.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're always in competition with yourself. And as a result, you end up better than a lot of other people. But you don't start off trying to be better than other people. You're always trying to build yourself up. And I feel like it's the same no matter what avenue you take. And, just to step away from the gym talk, because I know not everyone can relate to that. Relationships, same thing. I hit an area of my relationship, which is still fairly fresh, where we hit a fear roadblock. We became scared to tell each other certain things about ourselves for fear that the other would love us less.
Yes.
Isn't that stupid? Like, so dumb.
But that's our society, Scott. That's how we're wired. That's what we're told to do. That's judgment. That's what. Just get up and go get a gallon of milk at the store. I mean, it is minute is going to do something like that. There's so much fear and judgment, and you are supposed to look this way and act that way. And in fact, we were just talking about that this morning. I was interviewed this morning, and the interview was on a Zoom call, so you could see everybody, and I was the guest. And we were talking about the power of voice, how to, the power of a pause, the power of the pause, power of pause, and how to be firm and factual. And everybody is so freaking blown away of that power of that pause, how to utilize it. By the way, it is led via breath. And by the way, breathing is free and it travels everywhere. And number two, people are so freaking afraid of silence. Because, our society is, you're supposed to sit this way. You're supposed to talk this way. You're supposed to act this way. And one of the gentlemen brought up Toastmasters. And I said, yeah, I did Toastmasters several years ago. And in Toastmasters, they teach you, it's the whole format. And quite frankly, if you want to watch the format, turn on TV here in the United States or anywhere else in the world and watch a public figure speak, aka like a politician or like a prime minister. They're very Toastmaster. They're pre-rehearsed, they're practiced, and they pause a lot. Now, I believe in the power of pause. I use the power of pause because I don't want to respond to situations as opposed to react, and then when we're reacting, we're like, oh, fuck, I just said something I shouldn't be saying, and you can't take those words back. But one thing that I don't practice when I speak and I present, when I own the stage, when it's only me on the stage, it's like doing a high impact aerobic class. I'm not moving so fast you can't keep up with me. But I do not practice the power of pause because it works for me. But my power of the pause when I speak and present is I ask questions and then I wait for answers. See, and it doesn't work like that for everybody. But, Scott, we live in an environment of, oh, no, you're not supposed to speak that way. Oh, no, you're not supposed to present that way. You're supposed to present this way. You're supposed to speak this way. And as a speaker, you're supposed to call to action and sell at the back room and blah, blah, blah. It's like, screw you. Don't tell me how I'm to be. Screw you. I just had that on Facebook last week. I put up a post and it said, oh, my gosh. Our babies, we love them so much. It was to Chris Kelly, whom we've had on the show regarding animal rescue. And they found a dog in the San Bernardino field who was older, who was deaf and blind. Someone dumped him off. Oh my God, that poor dog, deaf and blind. Can you imagine? Thank God.
How afraid that animal was.
And older. And so what she felt happened was someone died and a family member dumped it off. Well, they got him and he was loaded with fleas and ticks. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so sad. How can anyone go and dump off their baby? And I was referring and using the word babies regarding to animals. Well, someone piped up. Okay, first of all, do not tell me what to do on my fucking news feed. That's my news feed. I own that newsfeed, all right? So here someone comes, I'm sorry, Kim, unless you've birthed it, it really truly is not a baby. So call it what it is. It's an animal. You don't have to birth something to call it a baby. And my
guitars are my babies.
Exactly. And my baby is Grace. She is my family. And I also have a hypothetically speaking 24-year-old niece in my life who's from Russia. I didn't birth her. I call her my baby. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to birth something to call it our baby. And that's the other thing I see people with all that fear is you are supposed to act and sit and be and say this way. Because if you don't, and it's like, God, oh my God,
and
stop.
It's so perfect. That's so perfect. I'm going to bring that back too, because that's exactly what I was getting at with this whole relationship thing is she and I got into an argument. Nothing serious, obviously, just, typical. It wasn't a nothing fight. It was definitely about some really substantial stuff. But through the course of the argument, we both realized that there were things we were not sharing with one another for fear of how the other would react.
Yeah.
And once I caught that, I stopped the argument and I said, listen. And I just said, you and I have to bring some things to the forefront. I'm hiding a part of my personality from you. And that's not good. And I said, and you're hiding a part of your personality from me because we're both afraid that we're not going to love each other afterward. I was like, you know what? If we don't, we're not meant to be together. So let's just say it. She said her bit. I said mine. Now I know this about her. And I appreciate that part of her personality so much more because it's actually quite a strong part of her personality.
Yes.
And if she would have hid that from me, I would have kept running into walls and getting into arguments and fighting with each other and not understanding why. Now I know it's there. Not only can I avoid it in negative ways, but we can utilize it in positive ways. Knowing she's that passionate and that fired up about certain things was beautiful. And at the same time, she now knows what shuts me down, what closes me off, which triggers my flight response and makes me want to be distant, right? Had I not told her that because I'm scared she wouldn't have the patience or would love me less, whatever fucking reason it is, we're dumb. When we get into relationships and we're dumb because we get so attached to the person that we ignore the fact that maybe that person's not right for us.
Yeah.
Because the person who is right for you will accept everything about you, even the ugly parts of your personality, right?
Yes.
Even the parts that scare you, even the parts that anger you and twist you up, that person will love and respect that. And so I was so scared. And again, there's that word, scared, that this girl would love me less, that I set aside the most important part. Am I being true to myself in order to keep her?
Yeah.
Am I being untrue to myself in order to keep her? And I was. So once I decided, fuck it, I'm just going to lay it all out. She loves me even more now because of that. And now we can actually talk to each other in a way that doesn't cause ruffled feathers. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of have to set aside the fear of what the other person in your relationship thinks and just be you. And if they're right for you, they're right for you. And if they're not, they're not, right? We've seen that with other guests on the show where they said their relationships failed when they came out and decided to be themselves. But they're happier.
Well, because you're in a very fake, unauthentic environment. And again, we live in fear of, not being loved, being alone, not having a partner, because our society is, we are to grow up and get a partner, raise families, blah, 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 live happily ever after. And it's really, quite frankly, that is farthest from, the truth. Not to minimize what you just said, Scott, but it goes back to every time I hear something like that, it reminds me of, when we're in school. And you're like sitting there, really, thinking, I really want to ask this question, but I don't want to ask this question because, they might think I'm stupid or I might look dumb. And there isn't such a thing in my world as a stupid question. It's just a question. It's a question. Why? This is a good question. Oh, this is a bad question. Okay. There is no good or bad question. It's a question. Ask it, and then, when you finally are in an environment like that, and then someone does ask that question, do you know how many other people are sitting in the room going, damn, I'm so glad he asked that question because now I can add to it because I wanted to ask that question. It's like up and leading and giving that permission.
And in the relationship, same thing. Ask the questions you want to ask and don't be afraid of the answer and don't accept the information as it comes to you and pop, right? Power of the pause.
Yep.
When the information comes to you, don't react. Digest it. And don't be attached to the answer. Don't ask someone a loaded question. Don't ask them a yes or no question when the answer is obviously yes. Don't. That's the wrong way to do it, right? If you're afraid to know the information, there's a reason why you're afraid.
Yeah.
You're terrified of an outcome and you have to detach from the outcomes. It's the only way in a relationship that things work is you have to let the person literally be themselves. And it's just, you mentioned about a trip you took. You went to Costa Rica recently and you were telling me that, the couple, there was a couple there who said you were so brave to go by yourself and you laughed. And that makes me laugh because you were like, what's so brave? It's a trip, right? And it just makes me laugh at the different degrees of fear people experience. You weren't afraid. Why not?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, I just wasn't. I mean, okay. So the night before that I was leaving on that Costa Rica trip for a split second, I just went, oh, Kim, what are you doing? You've never been in this country before. I'm going into a completely out of the country, a completely strange place. And I'm like, okay, bring it back on down. I mean, literally the week before I left, I went to a local bookstore, bought a couple books to take with me, and it was a woman store manager was helping me. I found out, and wow, I was having a blast with her. And I said, "Yeah, I'm taking some books. I'm going to Costa Rica." And I said, "And I'm going by myself. I'm so excited. I can't wait. That's why I'm looking for these books." And she goes, "Oh my God." You're going by yourself? I don't think I could ever do something like that. I've had very good friends tell me that, that, wow, I can't believe you did that. I could never do that.
Yeah.
Aren't you afraid? And I'm like, but, and I was leading up to it going, okay, what am I supposed to be afraid of? And then I thought, I'm not quite sure what, just for an angst of a second the night before, I got a little, stood back just a little bit, but, once, I get up and get me to the airport and get me on the plane. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. And what could possibly happen that I cannot be smart enough to savvy enough to get myself out of, nor am I, I'm not just, actually it's a very safe country. I could have gone off and went traveling by myself with hired transportation. I wouldn't just go rent a car by myself and travel.
Yeah, well, my brother was just in Panama. He got robbed. I mean, it was a friendly robbery. He actually made friends with the guy, had a great old conversation on the Aqua bus, I think they're called. And the guy was great, had a family, did this and that for a living. They had a big old conversation. My brother got back to the hotel, realized his wallet was gone. He didn't even know he was getting robbed.
Yeah.
But that's like, and the funny part is I asked him, like, does that give you, like, are you scared to go back? He's like, oh no, I'm going back for another 6 months. I loved it there.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just money, whatever. And he's not a rich kid, right? He's 24 years old. He doesn't have 2 dimes to scrape together sometimes, but he didn't let that scare him away. But then I know other people who, like, they won't get on a plane. They won't get on a train. They won't do anything unless they're driving. They'll never take a boat. They'll never see the world. They won't go into business. They won't get into a relationship or have an honest conversation with their partners. They won't go to the gym. Fear.
Oh my God, smoke a joint, people. Get on a plane. Let's go. I mean, come on. I mean, really, oh my God, we're missing out on so much. And I'm not quite, I don't get the fact. I don't understand how people have a fear of flying because you're contained. You're in a big, huge piece of machinery that,
oh my God.
That I don't understand. I mean, I'm going to go skydiving. I mean, I'm like, woo, let's fly. I fly in my dreams. I mean, it's like smoke a joint, man, mellow out. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, take a couple, I don't know, take some pills or something. You're missing so much,
My girlfriend told me the funniest thing because she flew out here a little while ago at the beginning of last month, and she's flying out again at the end of this month. Or at the end of next month, sorry. And it was just funny to me because she said like her biggest fear of flying is literally a physical impossibility. She's scared the plane is just going to drop out of the sky. That can't happen. Like unless the wings get cut off and then you more or less like torpedo down. So anyone who's afraid of flying, here's a visual for you. But, that doesn't happen. A plane's just not going to drop out of the sky. And so like I've flown dozens of times, I've been on boats, I've been on trains, planes, automobiles. It's not scary. No. What frightens me is people, being in social situations.
Yes. Yep.
And I still have to do it every day, and it's one of those things where like, I will go out and I'll talk to people and I'll shake hands with millionaires just as quick as I'll shake hands with a bum. No problem one-on-one. But you put me in a large group, like I'm going to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I'm going to be in the vicinity of like 100,000 plus people. I am terrified, but am I going to stop myself from seeing my favorite band in the world because there's going to be people there? Hell no. I'm going and I'm going to love it.
So Scott, you need to Google, James Corden. He did the car karaoke. He's a late night.
Yes.
He did one with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
That's awesome.
And one of the guys from Red Hot Chili Peppers went to a very predominant private school about 10 minutes from my house, born and raised.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Balzari, probably the bass player, Flea.
Yes.
I know he's got a
Yes.
really traditional background. And, like these guys, a lot of these guys, they have stage fright. They play in front of
Oh,
like 100,000 people and they're terrified of being in front of people.
oh my
That
God,
amazes me.
Adele. Yeah, Adele had stage fright in the very beginning. I think she's worked through a lot of that, but
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand, going to these large events and stuff like that. Those large events don't bother me. Things like that. But why would? Yeah, I just ask people, okay, why would you want to hold yourself back something from an opportunity that could be the most amazing, exciting thing in the whole wide world? Number one, and number two, let's not just jump in. Let's not just go from the cliff and dive in. 50 feet of water when you're just learning how to swim. Take steps
Yeah.
up to that, work through it, take little tiny steps up to it so that at the,
Yeah.
when you get to the moment, then it's like, oh shit, I just took all these little baby tiny steps to my one big, huge, gigantic Ganga. And oh my God, I'm here. This is exciting.
And that's the thing is you got to work up to it because like here's the funny part about that whole situation is put me on the stage in front of 100,000 people. It's the flip side of my fear, right? The mirror image. Put me on the stage in front of 100,000 people, I will light up the room. Put me in the crowd of 100,000 people and I will shrink to my smallest self. And it almost like it took me a long time, smaller shows and building up to avoid that. I call it the fear freeze, but it's fear-based paralysis where you're so afraid of something, it stops you from doing it. And I had to build through it, like you said.
Yeah. That's all you got to do is, so real quickly, I want to say this, with fear, we can never get rid of fear. Fear
No.
always is always there. It's part of our emotional baseball team. I call our emotions baseball team. And by the way, I don't believe in good and bad emotions. I believe they're just emotions. They're just
Mm.
all emotions. And one of the things that we can do to help manage, I said manage, not control, because if you try to control fear, it's like trying to control a screaming 13-year-old kid. You'll never out scream them. So to manage fear is one of my most favorite things is I am positive affirmation statements.
Nice.
It's an easy peasy little tool and it works. And by the way, everybody listening, don't just go and do an I am a positive affirmation statement. And then by tonight you go to bed, everything is all hunky dory, Wizard of Oz, clicking ruby red slippers, wonderful. You have to do it repetitively, multiple times throughout the day. You have to repeat the I am, whatever the statement is. And it's I am positive statement. And you have to do it repetitively over the next, I am a 90-day girl, to really undo, the default buttons.
90 days. I heard somewhere it was like 21 days to build a habit, but 90 days would definitely be much better.
Yes. Yeah. I like the 90 days. It is 21 days. Most people go by, but I'm a 90-day girl.
Hello? I'm not sure what just happened there. But yeah, Kim? Kim, are you there? I'm scared. I can't be on this call by myself. I've never done this before. Oh well, I guess I'll just talk through it. Yeah, so Kim just completely left me. I'm by myself now, which is even more terrifying. You think I'm scared of people. I'm even more scared of being alone, really. But we knew it was coming. Kim has to go jump on a plane, which is, it's part of life. It is what it is. But so I'm gonna float the Down and Dirty show for the last 20 minutes, and hopefully Nesha hasn't done anything evil with Kim since we spend so much time bad mouthing Nesha. Nesha's gonna make me look amazing, I hope. But the last part of fear, one of the things that I really want to get into is like in business. I run a consulting business. I run a coaching business, and business has been the thing that has scared the pants off of me the most over the last, I'd say, year and a half, because business has told me and forced me to confront all of the things that I'm afraid of. Public speaking, had to do it. One-on-one meetings with people who are way above my caliber of income, of knowledge, of everything that I aspire to be. I've had to meet those people and get to know those people. And nothing humbles you faster than meeting someone you think is better than you. And that was one of the things that I really had to get over. And this week alone, I've had to do it multiple times. I've had to set up sales calls with guys who are way more successful than me. I've had to interview my mentors who I almost want to pee myself at the sight of a Facebook post with these guys. And I've got to spend 10, 20, 30 minutes on the phone with them talking, knowing that they know so much more than me, and knowing that like I've got the access to the entire world of information at my fingertips, and being too nervous to actually go about it. And it's really forced me to get to know myself. When I first started, I was afraid of business. And so I cleaned myself up, changed who I was to appeal to the professional crowd, the corporate crowd. I cleaned up, I shaved my beard, I cleaned up my language. I was actually debating getting my tattoos removed, like 100% change myself just to mold myself into this corporate image of what a businessman should be. And it's not the way to go. You don't need to do that. You need to become self-aware and figure out, okay, why am I so afraid? And that's what it was. It was all based out of fear. It was all based out, as Kim said, the hag in the attic. Mine's the douche in the attic. He completely self-talked me into a corner where I thought somehow I was not good enough. Who I was and how I was to show up and actually deliver my message and what I can do. And it took putting myself in situations where I was uncomfortable over and over and over again to actually grow into the person that I felt could deliver and could attract. And a big part of it was that I was trying to attract the wrong fucking people. Completely wrong fucking people. I was trying to attract the church going, corporate, high power, high this, high that types. And those aren't my people. I love them to death. I respect them to death, but they're not my tribe. If fuck bothers you, if doing business with, a guy who calls himself a douchebag bothers you, if tattoos bother you, that is not my problem. But I was making it my problem out of fear and out of ego. And so I found this lad by the name of Dan Meredith, and he's just this big, burly, bearded, mouthy motherfucking British guy. Huge. Following, everyone loves him. He swears at his clients. He swears at his group members, and not in a bad way. He's always joking and laughing. But just seeing how that man carried on allowed me to actually dive in and be myself. I started taking profile pictures with my tattoos, like showing. I started dressing how I wanted to. And then along comes Gary Vaynerchuk. This guy swears up a storm on stage, and he literally wears like a beanie, a t-shirt, scuffed jeans, and running shoes up on stage. And I realized that, times are changing or people are changing. I don't know what it is, but the entire culture of business is allowing people to actually be themselves. And I feel that that is cutting away all of that deceit and all of that ill will and all of that horrible feeling that used to come around business, where business people were crooks. Yes, they were. They were lying to you about who they were, how they dressed, what they were selling, everything. Now it's completely different. You can do business with whoever you want, be however you want, act however you want, eat whatever you want, and just be you. And that's the most empowering feeling. And it took me probably 5 years total to realize that, to the point where today I can show up and launch a product. Like I just set up a multi-tiered service product and fund it through Patreon, which is a Kickstarter. And a lot of business guys don't think you should use Kickstarters and startup programs. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to try. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. This thing could fail. It could fail so miserably, and it could seriously flop. And I'm afraid of that. But am I going to let that fear paralyze me? Not at all. Because like I mentioned earlier, and like Kim was saying, you cannot be attached to the outcomes of things. If you're going to launch a product, don't be afraid of what's going to happen. Embrace it. There's, if you fail, why did you fail? How did you fail? What would you do differently next time? Then relaunch. Try it again. For me, I've already got the data figured out for myself. If I fail doing this thing, I'm going to put it into a sales funnel instead. I hate to do the marketing lingo on you. Actually, no, I don't. I love to do the marketing lingo on you. However, it's one of those situations where I've got the idea already in the back of my mind. If this thing fails, I have a plan B. Maybe you need a plan B to conquer your fear. Maybe you need a plan C or D or E, but you don't let the fear conquer you. You don't let the fear hold you back from being yourself, from dressing how you want to, from being open with your business partners, your spouse, your family. You've got to be who you are. And it doesn't matter what facet of life that is. I just got on an interview with a gentleman in a whole other country before I jumped on this call. Interviews scare me. They really do, because every host expects something different. Every audience is used to hearing something different. And before I jump in, just to give you an insight into my neurotic thinking process, I was thinking, am I going to say something wrong? Am I going to trip over my words? Am I going to offend the host? Am I going to say something that does not fly in his country? Am I going to provide enough value? Am I going to go off on a tangent? Am I going to, and all of these things were flipping through my head at lightning speed until the phone rang and I jumped on and just did the fucking interview. And we laughed, we carried on, we had a great time because I threw all that fear out the window and just said, screw it, let's do it. Screw it, let's do it. Those are my 3 favorite, or it's 5, I guess, 4 or 5 favorite words. Screw it, let's do it. 5 words. And they're my favorite because if you're going to let fear paralyze you, if you're going to let fear hold you back from going to talk to that girl you like, or getting on that show, or, setting up that business plan, or going to meet that business partner, or, adopting that child, or getting talking to your spouse about what's really on your mind. Skydiving, if you're going to let fear hold you back from things, you will not experience life the way it's meant to be experienced. And there is nothing wrong with you for wanting to experience your life and live it the way you want to. Do you want to go extreme? Go extreme. Do you want to be a little more reserved? Be a little more reserved. It's fine. For instance, we have had dominatrixes on this show. We're getting guests on who have transgendered. We're getting guests on who have completely defied the laws of relationships by being in open-ended relationships. We have had people on who went from music production to the church road. We've had so many different kinds of guests. And the one thing that is a prerequisite to get on this show is that you cannot be afraid to fly your flag. You cannot be afraid to show your true colors. If you're a tattooed, young, spiky-haired cartoon douchebag, be that person. If you're a music producer or, a podcast producer from Serbia who likes to drink in the middle of the day, be that person, because that person is a badass. And I hope to God he's still on the air. Otherwise, I'm just rambling like crazy. If you are, a 56-year-old woman who is a business beast and wants to go skydiving and travel the world and, doesn't like golf, be that person. No one is stopping you. When Kim approached me to get on this show, I was terrified, so scared, because Kim is amazing. She is we joke and laugh because we say she's my business big sister and I'm her little brother in business. And it's the absolute truth. What this woman knows astounds me. And the way she carries herself on the air, when you listen to her more professional shows, is really intimidating to me because I could never, ever be that person. And so when she approached me to be on this show, I was worried about the outcome. And I could have said no. And I was tempted to say no. And actually for 3 or 4 calls, I did say no. Because I said I had my own thing going and I tried to duck out on her and avoid it. And she wouldn't stop. She was relentless. And so she, again, when she finally said, I want someone to be on the show, she reached out to someone who I didn't think would be a good fit. And that prompted me into action. When I was like, no, I could do a way better job than that. I jumped up and said, no, I want to be your co-host. And so she ended up getting her co-host that she wanted anyway, which was great. And I got a new show and a new platform to talk on, which was beautiful. But fear almost had me miss this boat. When your boat pulls up, you get in. When your limo pulls up, you get in. It doesn't matter what you're afraid of. It doesn't matter what's on the other side of that door. You get in and you experience life for everything that it is. And it's so funny to me when people fear freeze. I put out a message to my social media today and asked, what are people afraid of? And I got some pretty good comments. I'm just going to jump onto Facebook here and show you just some of the things that people have said. And some of it was great. And some of it was a little, someone said the big bad wolf. Are you afraid of the big bad wolf? Not really. But some people have said some pretty interesting things to what they're afraid of. For instance, Rob Farker, he's the host of the Paid to Play podcast. He's in Australia. Really cool cat. We've talked a lot. He said calling attention to himself. Isn't that something? Afraid to call attention to himself. And yet the man runs a podcast. He's a voice actor. Everything he does is larger than life. And yet he's terrified of people paying attention to him or too much attention to him. He also said stepping out of his comfort zone. Yeah. But you got to realize that being in your comfort zone, Rob, or anybody who's listening on the air, being in your comfort zone is not fucking comfortable. It's holding you back. You outgrow your comfort zone at such an alarming rate that eventually you start feeling that constricting, refining, you're completely confined within this comfort zone and you don't know how to break out. And all it is stepping up to the next level and experiencing more. And a lot of people, they have this nagging feeling that they should be doing something else or should be, just something more, but they can't put their finger on it. Anything. The answer is anything. Do anything more and you will grow. It doesn't have to be any one thing. There's no nagging thing. The nagging thing is that you're standing still, which follows up to the next one. He said, calling attention to himself, stepping out of his comfort zone, and not stepping out of his comfort zone. And it made me laugh because you would think that's a paradox. It's an oxymoron. It's not. Because not stepping out of your comfort zone gives you that fear of standing still, that fear of not being enough, not growing as a human being. And that's a horrible feeling. But then stepping out of your comfort zone means you have to step into the unknown, which is also a terrifying feeling. But anytime I get the opportunity to step out of my comfort zone, if I can afford it financially and if I can afford it spiritually and emotionally, I am there. Like if there's nothing to lose on the other side of that deal, I am there. Couple of bucks, fine, I'll lose that. Worst, sleight of hand. You learn a little sleight of hand at the very least. You get some feedback if something fails. But if I'm about to lose a relationship or an emotional connection that's very important to me, I have to navigate things differently. But I will not forsake the person I am or want to be to hold on to something that doesn't work anymore. And so you do have to step out of your comfort zone from time to time. Someone else, Amy, said she's not a fan of spiders, tornadoes, or clowns. We share the fear of clowns, my friend. That is definite. Can't tell you why. They just freak me the fuck out. Clowns are terrifying. Spiders are kind of cool. Tornadoes, they're a natural miracle. They're insane to see, but I definitely wouldn't want to be caught up in one. As you can see, people are terrified of a lot of different things. They're scared of loss. They're scared of all kinds of different things. But you cannot let fear paralyze you. You cannot let fear hold you back from the biggest things that you want to accomplish. I just set out a program where if every last thing sells, I'll be making $18,000. That's a lot to some people. That's a pittance to other people. But you know how terrifying that is to me? I've never seen that kind of money before in my life, ever. I've never held it. I've never smelled it. I don't know what that feels like. And I'm terrified. I am so scared that it's going to fail. But will that stop me from launching this product? No, I will not. Do I have to step up my game completely to become someone who can deliver this product? Oh God, yes. Am I there now? Partially. Definitely. I've got the knowledge. I've got the skill level. I've got the charisma and the ability to deliver. But there's still work I have to do. Because if I deserved it, I'd have it already. And so I have to step out of my comfort zone. I have to learn a bunch of things. I have to make new relationships. I have to go out and meet new people. And we've heard all through this interview and this talk that I'm terrified of people. I have to go and put myself up against my biggest fear to make the connections that I need to make to survive in this world that I've thrown myself into. And I knew when I was a kid that I wanted to be a businessman, but I did not know how difficult and how scary it was going to be and how many different situations I would have to rise to. So yes, fear, face everything and rise, absolutely true. Forget everything and run, definitely not the response you want to take. Like Kim said, fuck fear in the face. Like you've really got to step up and see, where am I now? Where do I want to be? What's it going to take? And yes, your mind will definitely play all kinds of tricks on you. It's going to tell you you're not good enough. It's going to tell you you'll never be that. It's going to tell you that there's so much to do and that's going to take so much time and so much money and so much effort, and you're going to be afraid of it. But fear is like Kim said, it's not a positive emotion. It's not a negative emotion. It is just an emotion. It's telling you that there are factors that are unknown. So what do? Write them all down. This is data. This is complete data. Everything you're afraid of, write it down and then start finding solutions. And once you have answers to all of these questions, it becomes a lot less scary. And truth be told, you can start forming strategies around it. You don't need to be afraid forever. You don't need to worry about the things that alarm you. You don't need to dumb yourself down for other people because you're afraid they won't like you. They're not your people. You don't need to hide things from your spouse because you're afraid they won't accept it, or your partner because you're afraid they won't love you for who you are. They're not meant to be with you then. If they can't accept who you are, there's someone out there who can. And these are hard pills to swallow, definitely. But anything that stops you from being 100% yourself is not worth doing. You need to be you at all times. And that means confronting fear as well. And I mean, I understand that it's not the easiest thing in the world. Again, tomorrow, this time, I'm going to be in front of 100,000 or more people, and that terrifies me. But I also get to see my favorite band in the entire world light up the stage. And they only have so many years left, right? The Red Hot Chili Peppers are not going to play forever. And so I have a choice. Go see them now, face my fear, be uncomfortable, or miss an opportunity completely because they're not going to play. So I make a choice. I put in the money, which I didn't have at the time. I went out, I made that money, I set it aside, I put it on the tickets, I put it on the transportation, I put it on the hotel rooms. And rather than make excuses, oh, I'll never be able to afford that, I found a way to afford it. Then I decided to secure the transportation, which could have been another excuse. Oh, I'm not going to have a way there. No, I didn't let fear hold me back from that. And now my biggest fear is the people and the drive to Montreal, honestly. The driving around in a city like Montreal scares me. I'm a small town boy, you know. The traffic up there is definitely different. People drive really weird in Quebec compared to here. I have a choice. Let that scare me away after I've come this far, or just keep plowing through. So I'm going to keep plowing through. I'm going to get everything done I need to do. And then finally, when I'm there, I'm going to be in front of that many people. Will I be stressed out for a while? Sure, a little bit. The anxiety will be there. But then I get the choice to get used to it, get acclimatized to the environment, maybe make some friends, talk to some strangers, ask them what their favorite songs are, who are they here to see, because it's a huge music festival. And once that stage lights up, go get in front of it and forget that there are even other people there and watch the greatest show of my life. And so whatever it is that you're holding yourself back from, whatever it is you truly want to experience, I encourage you to do a little bit of homework. Seriously, do some homework. Go and figure out what it is you really want to do with your life. You know, maybe you want to take a trip. Maybe you want to see a band play. Maybe you want to have some fun trying a new sport or launching a podcast or getting on live radio. Maybe you want to launch a new program with your business. There's definitely something you want to be doing. Then figure out what it is that's holding you back. What are you afraid of? Make 2 lists. Make a list for all the things you want to do. Make a list for all the things that scare you. And start coming up with responses and solutions to your fear. Start answering your own objectives and see where the experiment takes you. It might give you the balls or lady balls to actually get up and do something that you've been holding off on. And because of that, you will grow as a person and you'll start truly enjoying your life instead of just surviving it. You'll be able to live. The second you set fear aside and choose to recognize it for what it actually is, it's an early warning system to tell you these are all the things that could go wrong, not all the things that will go wrong. Your plane will not drop out of the sky unless the wings get cut off, right? And what are the chances of that? You will not get into a crowd of 100,000 people and have something go wrong. You will not go to Panama and get robbed unless you're my brother. So these kinds of things should not scare you. Just because they happen to other people doesn't mean they're going to happen to you. And other people have a tendency to overblow things completely. So listen to your own inner voice. Figure out what it's saying. Figure out what it is you want to be doing. And I will be right here on the Down and Dirty Show every single Wednesday. And I encourage you to share what it is you're finding. If you're listening in on the waves and you want to talk about what scares you and how you overcame it, I am down. Reach out. Let me know. Find me on Facebook. I'm happy to talk about this kind of thing because I've faced a lot of fear in the last little while. And I definitely think it was the greatest gift I could have given myself, was the gift of self-discovery and facing my fears. So with that, it's the top of the hour. I am broadcasting live without my Kimba here on the Bold Radio station. You can check us out every Wednesday, down and dirty, boldradio.com. Cheers. Make it a great week.